Hi everyone, welcome to the show. This is episode 7 of the Trans Agenda.
Wow, episode
Welcome.
7. Episode 7 already.
I know it's going fast.
Yeah, I mean it's a bi-weekly show and we're doing pretty well. Yeah. All right, cool.
It's just we'll both be completely driven crazy once the time we get to like episode 100.
Episode 100, we're both like sitting here like withered husks. And, what is there to talk about? We have spoken about
everything.
Yeah. Sorry, I interrupted your introduction. Please continue, Ash.
Yeah, hi everyone. This is the Trans Agenda, the show that we talk about trans stuff and gay stuff and generally talk shit for an hour. Sorry, I'm trying to fix a thing because you're slightly off center.
It's just me in my chair and
yeah, it's okay.
I'm sorry. Look, I can get back on center without you fixing it. It's cool.
Today we're gonna talk about like all about allies and cool stuff that we think people who are allies to LGBT people, trans people in particular, can do. Maybe talk about specific people who we want to be like, that person is really great. But before we get to that, I just want to announce that the first 2 episodes of the Trans Agenda are available in audio form for all of those people who love podcasts. And let me I have a SoundCloud link. I have the SoundCloud link.
Oh my god.
Let me post that in chat. There we go. You can listen to the first 2 episodes. There's going to be a bit of a delay setting stuff up because I can only upload like 3 hours to SoundCloud a month, which is a bit limiting. I'm going to try and fix that and see if I can get a bigger like quota and I can just put everything on there. But for now, the first 2 are available for your listening pleasure.
If you would rather hear our voices than see our faces, there's an option for that now.
Exactly.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
All right. So cool. We have any further like announcement stuff that needs to be?
I don't think so right now.
No? All right. All right. So let's dive into our today's topic, shall we?
Yeah.
We're talking about allies. And for those of you who maybe don't even know the terminology, so to speak, like an ally is like someone who maybe isn't personally affected by the issues facing discriminated groups such as trans people, LGBT people, like so forth, but use their position of privilege or lack of discomfort, I'm not wording this very well, to help those people who are otherwise disenfranchised.
I think that's perfect explanation of what an ally is. Take
this from me, Ash. Just take this away from me, okay? I'm saying things. I'm not thinking about what they are.
So I thought today what we could talk about is stuff like some like general advice for like how to be a good ally, how to be what to avoid in being a bad ally, and that
I feel like this is one of those things that we've touched on briefly in like or like talked about in question segments or stuff like that, but that like having its own place to talk about it and the space to have this particular discourse is good. All right, so let's get us rolling. Where are we gonna start? What should we do?
Okay, so why don't we start like what is your like number one like thing people can do that supports like you personally as a trans person?
I mean, if we're talking about me personally, you can subscribe to Distracted. No, I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding. Okay, but no. Supports me. Like I feel like the most important thing is that like it's somebody who's willing to learn about stuff on their own to a certain degree.
Mm-hmm.
Like that you're willing to go and and like seek out information that maybe you're not being directly told by someone who is affected by those things. You know what I mean? If you're like, I want to be a good trans ally, you know, and you're like, but I don't know if I should say the word blank, you know, or whatever. Instead of asking, you can find out, you know, like it's out there, and then just make yourself a better ally. You proactiveness is the most powerful tool. Is the most powerful tool of an ally. Yes, proactiveness, learning about things without having to be taught. Though that sounds like weird because, you know, as we sort of said in the pre-show, like we're doing teaching right now, so you know, just stay here and listen to this. And hopefully you will be a better ally by the end. I don't know. It's possible.
But the difference is that we've both consented to the emotional labor of teaching you right now, whereas the trans person in your life maybe doesn't want to commit to that. Like it's a lot of effort having to like dish out a trans 101 to every other person that you're speaking to.
I've said before jokingly, like in regards to streaming and in regards to like the amount of people that you and I and like people like us see like day to day, if we're like in the public eye and stuff like that, that the amount of trans 101 we give, like GLAAD should pay us money. You know,
if
like,
only.
Yeah, that's how I felt. And some days you wanna talk about that stuff. Some days you really don't. So being a better ally, the most important thing in my opinion is the like proactiveness of like trying to learn stuff on your own. And then when you come to the difficult stuff and like the questions where maybe you're not satisfied with what you're being told or learning, like further than the basics sort of thing, that's where you engage with people, you know, and you sort of go like, well, what about this, or how do you feel about, you know, X thing or whatever that's confusing to you. But making the effort is a huge leap, and people can tell when you do, right? That's it. I think like people will know if you've made the effort to learn anything, basically.
Yeah, definitely. You can definitely tell when someone's trying to engage you and they haven't even done the they haven't even gone through the effort to like Google what trans means. And it's like at that point I'm like I'm not,
I don't know.
I just want to just have a I want to have a command in my chat that is like trans 101, and it's just a let me Google that for you link.
I guess the thing is, right, like when you think about the term ally and you think about it in terms of the way that we think about it in other contexts, you know, like someone who is your ally is someone who will like assist you and come to your aid and like be helpful to you, you know what I mean? And if they're not willing to, if you have to like push them into the line of fire, so to speak, they're not being a good ally.
They're not being a good ally.
So I mean, that's it, right?
Exactly.
And sort of metaphorically, that's what we're talking about. Like if you're not willing to you take a couple of steps on your own, you probably should, if it's a label you want to have, that like ally label. What about you, Ash? Anything like that springs to mind as like being super important, or like?
So I think that sort of changing your behaviors around like unconscious bias is a big thing that that I talk about when I'm giving talks about like LGBT representation in like STEM and in physical sciences and stuff. And this is the idea that at the end of the day, we still have the same brains that we did when we were cavemen, and we make unconscious decisions and classify people just automatically. And being aware of that and thinking about the immediate decisions your brain makes before you start talking is really important. So like thinking about what pronouns you're going to use before you start talking about someone, and using gender neutral language, if you don't know what someone identifies as, is really important. Yeah, I think the taking a moment to stop and think before you say stuff is good advice in general. Very good advice when you're around trans and gender non-conforming people.
Okay, I totally agree with you. Yeah, I definitely think that's on the list of things that's very important. And and I think to add to that, there's that whole aspect of like, think about your why a little more, or your like how I'm gonna do things, you know, rather than just doing them. Because sometimes you make that wrong assumption, and it sucks when you make a mistake, but mistakes are fixable.
Yes. Yeah.
And if you're thinking about the why and the how of a thing, then it's much easier to sort of sidestep very easy errors, like misgendering and so forth. Like, you don't want to do that stuff. Trust me, we get that you will or you do. And especially if you're like a new ally or like a new friend, you know what I mean? And like you're well-meaning, you know, and you have the spirit sort of thing, but you're still getting into it. And that stuff isn't a problem as long as there's sort of intention to like move past it or to figure it out. But the important thing in regards to that, and something else that I think is really, really important as an ally, is, again, going back to that definition of ally, right? We're talking about people who help, people who come to your aid, people who assist you, right? Don't make it about you. I'm not your ally in making you look like a socially conscious, cool, good person in your privileged position. You're my ally in making sure that I like human rights are maintained and so forth, like that kind of stuff. So it's important, like, to think about where you are pointing the spotlight, so to speak. If your allyship is about making you feel like you're a better person, and like looking for reflected glory, so to speak, in like a certain way, then you need to consider like what your motivations are and like why you care about these things. And you should, but don't make it about you. Make it about the people that you are being an ally toward.
I think one of the big mistakes people make when they're trying to support a friend who's come out or someone they've known for a long time is like overdoing apologies. Like, every trans person knows that their friends are going to make mistakes and their parents are going to make mistakes, and eventually they're going to get misgendered, and we all have different ways of dealing with that. But no trans person is ever going to like bite your head off because you use the wrong pronoun. And what
you don't need to fall on your sword every time you make a mistake.
I'm so sorry. I'm trying really hard.
It's like, great, I'm really glad about that, but also this is not about you.
Yeah. It's one of those things that I prefer someone to just be, if you use the wrong pronoun, to just correct yourself and move on. Or if you need to apologize, just say sorry once. That's it.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. We don't need the whole like martyrdom speech. You don't need to set yourself on fire. None of that. Like, it's embarrassing for both of us, let's be honest. Push that aside.
I think maybe there's a little bit of just my Britishness in that if someone apologizes to me, I feel obliged to say that it's okay, when obviously it's not okay. It's not okay that you're using the wrong pronouns or you've used my old name, but because I'm just so inherently British,
social contract,
I can't not say, oh no, it's fine, it's okay, don't worry about it, I know you're trying.
You really don't need to self-flagellate. Exactly. Like, you make a mistake, we both move on, we're friends, ultimately in this theoretical conversation, and like one mistake is not gonna sell it badly, so to speak. But you do need to make a conscious effort, obviously. You can't just keep making mistakes and then expect it to still work, sort of thing. it is about conscious effort, definitely. Lots of people claim to be kind of like allies or like, you know, support or whatever, people who like care a lot about these things, they like claim to, but then they don't actually put any effort into doing that. You know what I mean? It's sort of like, I don't know how to describe it. Like, oh, you have a friend who's trans? That makes you like a trans ally. It's a little bit different than that, right? Like, it's a little bit different saying that you're like an ally, quote unquote, other than just like a sort of positively affecting bystander. You know?
Yeah.
Like, those two things are a little different.
I feel like if you're gonna consider yourself an ally, you need to be the type of person who goes to like queer events and like boosts voices and supports people and that kind of thing. Like not
the difficult part about that is doing those things but making it about the people you are supporting.
Exactly.
Not about
yeah.
I don't know. That's kind of how I feel about it anyway. I'm not to say that positively affecting bystanders are not great. Like, you know, I love changing people's minds about stuff. And I love like my personal contact with someone, maybe making them care more about trans issues in general, you know, because they know me and they like me. So the other trans stuff must be, you know, like important too, or what have you. I've been through sort of like a lot of those connections where it's like, oh, a very generally conservative white male that I know, you know, but I'm cool and you like me, so maybe you should think about trans stuff, you know, and then they do, but the rest of their ideology doesn't change. You know, it's one of those things where it's like, I care about this stuff because I care about this one trans person I know, which is it's the start, you know, it's the start.
Yeah,
it is a foundation, and I'm happy and glad to have that concrete poured, so to speak.
Yeah,
but you got to build on that to be like an ally.
Yeah, yeah, it's one of those things that I guess we were talking about it with Andrew last time we did the show, in that at the end of the day, like, trans people and non-binary people don't have the numbers to actually push for like social change, and so it's the onus is on cis people to
care about things that don't affect them.
Exactly. Yeah. And to like at the end of the day, it's things like going out and voting. Voting is very important.
Yeah, that's definitely a good one. Actually making strides towards any kind of change, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Anything else specifically we want to like direct this conversation towards? We want to touch on like
so there's a little discussion in chat at the moment, which I think I can angle into something in there.
Do it.
So people are asking like what do you do when you don't know someone's pronouns, which is a great question, and it's one of those things where I feel like you need to be the type of person who sets the example. And this is another thing we spoke to Andrew about, like it's the idea that when you meet someone, and you introduce yourself, you can say, "Hi, I'm Ashley, my pronouns are she, hers." Don't say specifically that, because that might be weird if your name isn't Ashley.
I'm gonna introduce myself as Ashley all the time now, just to confuse people.
Perfect. And that sets the example that sets like the base level in the conversation. Most people, if they're in like tune with LGBT stuff at all, will realize what you're doing, and when they introduce themselves, they'll
do the same thing. And so like, if you're in the position where it's like, well, you're cisgendered, you know, you're the person with sort of like the social power in that particular conversation, you can be the person to introduce yourself first, I think is what we're getting at, right? And to give your pronouns is to give permission for the other person to do the same thing and feel comfortable doing it, right? So like, it's like that weird social contract thing, you know, where it's like the way that a conversation flows can sometimes change the way that you know, people feel comfortable in it. Like Ash was saying, the whole like when you say sorry, I want to say like it's okay and like you don't have to be sorry, sort of thing. This is the same sort of thing, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
If you're the person with the social power in that situation, and you can go like, "Hi, my name is Bob. My pronouns are he/him," you know, or whatever. And then the person who maybe you're not sure of their pronouns that you're talking to will be willing to open up and say those things to you because you've opened the channel for that conversation without making it sort of like an accusation, you know what I mean, or like a question directed at them. Not to say that questions are bad necessarily, but it's another way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I would never get upset if someone like just asks me what my pronouns are.
Yeah.
But I do know some people who feel uncomfortable having that conversation and don't necessarily like being asked directly. Like they like to have like indirect ways of giving that information. So that's a like test the water kind of thing. Yeah,
I would say that's sort of like a way you could go about it if you wanted to be like soft-hearted about it, so to speak. And that's cool. I don't know. I think that's the kind of thing that like over time becomes more comfortable as you do it more. Because I understand being in that position where you're like, this feels unnatural for me to like present myself and say these things like this way. You know, and like you might feel awkward doing it, but then you think about how awkward they feel, you know, or like
exactly. Yeah. Well, welcome to our world.
Presenting themselves that way, and boom, instant empathy, right? And empathy is the thing you want. It's the the connections between
empathy
people.
Is so good.
Empathy, caring about other people, so good. Yeah. That's kind of on that topic to talking about pronouns. That's kind of we've talked about that particular subject a couple of times. I think because it's a question that always comes up in the like post actual podcasty talk showy bit in the question section that like always comes up. But there's an alternate method. There you go. Good.
Okay. So we talked sort of about like general stuff. And I'm wondering if I've been asked a bunch by my sister-in-law to talk about like parents of trans people. And I wonder if you have anything specifically to say, like what makes like a parent a good ally? What kind of stuff can like parents do when they have that?
Like parents of trans folks. I mean, I think I think like with all that stuff, and I think I've said it before, it's about being supportive, you know. There's a huge amount of power that parents have in their hands when it comes to like influencing the life of their young, possibly trans kid. Like then that's just fact. Like parents have a lot of power, and the way you respond to like difficult stuff like this like really speaks to what their experience is going to be like further on. I mean, my parents are a great example of like really supportive, awesome family. Like I was so scared to come out, and like when I did, they basically said like, it's all good, we'll okay, we'll sort it out, we'll figure it out, and we'll work on this together, and we can work through it as a team, sort of. And there's really nothing else that would be better, right? Like just listening. You just like, as a parent, you just gotta listen, right? Like if you refuse to learn anything, maybe if you're like not trans supportive, or you're like confused by that stuff, or you don't know much about it or whatever, like maybe you should listen to your kid who's coming out to you, who knows more about that subject, I promise you, than you do, if you're in that situation. and there's just like kind of a lot of, you know, being there is really important. Like remaining present in that relationship with your kid is a really important thing, like as a parent, at least in my opinion. Nothing could be worse than like driving someone out for being who they are. You know, I feel like that's, you know, that's a rough lesson, basically.
I feel like there's a lot
and
of
one and one I wish that nobody had to.
I know so many trans people who tell the story of trying to come out at a young age, and just getting completely shut down. And that doesn't make your kid not trans. It just makes them like repress it and develop all kinds of shitty anxieties. And
I mean, to a smaller degree, that's kind of what happened to me, right? Like I tried to come out when I was like 16, sort of thing. And my mom was like, no, that like are you sure? Like that's really scary. Like don't like touch this unless you're 100% sure thing. And I'm like, oh man, it's really scary. It's I don't want to, you know, like, and I backed off of it, sort of thing. Like
you have so much
when
power.
I should not have. Right. But it's okay. We got there eventually.
You have so much power as a parent to set the standard of how kids react to things, and it's the kind of thing you see like even at the basic level of like child falls down and they only start crying once they see like the parent like freak out, because they think oh no, mum's freaking out, clearly something is wrong.
One of those things where it's like you haven't really hurt yourself, but your parent is shocked, therefore.
And I think that's something that happens in like for queer kids, like they try and establish part of their identity and their parents react negatively to that, and they're like, oh, this is a bad thing, okay, I'll try not to be that. And
it's tough in a family situation because you're talking about the people that have like dominion over your life at that point in time, you know, like these are the people who like the place you sleep and the food you eat belongs to them, you know what I mean? Like it's one of those things where it's like, even if you did like reassert your identity, you know, that doesn't necessarily guarantee your safety, basically, or your happiness, you know, because like other things will go wrong, basically. So what I'm saying is, if you want to be a good ally as a parent, bringing it all the way back around, be supportive and listen. Understand that your trans kid maybe knows a little more about trans issues than you do, if you're not involved in that kind of stuff, and I don't know, process. maybe don't jump immediately to a knee-jerk negative reaction. And if you do, you can always fix these things, you know, you can talk to them, you can figure it out, like there's a conversation to be had. Anyway, sorry, Ash, go say things. I'm rambling.
I was just gonna say that it might not even be the fact that your kid is trans, and that's okay. I'm of the opinion that kids do experiment with gender, and if that's something they want to do, then there are systems in place in most countries where you can take a child to a professional and they'll help go through that. There are charities that do it and everything, and it's all you have to do is listen and think, okay, we can have a dialogue about that, and being open to different ideas. And I think that's,
I mean, parents are the biggest first hurdle to coming out and being who you want to be, usually. So they can be the best allies. Definitely 100%. Like my family, love them so much, real good. Even though they get my pronouns wrong sometimes, and they, you know, My mother constantly outs me to everybody she knows because she's so proud of me.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that.
Like, they make mistakes, but that doesn't make them like bad allies necessarily.
Yeah.
Their heart's in the right place, but they gotta learn some things. You know, they haven't quite got to the like learning stuff on their own point yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What do you think? You got anything else you wanna steer this conversation to?
About allyship? What about like workplace stuff?
Workplace stuff.
Ash.
Yeah.
And I say this to you because I have no problem with any of that because I live on the internet. So my workplace is just it's just me.
Yeah.
And I support me, you know.
Yeah.
So just talk to me about like school and workplace environments and like allyship within those environments, maybe.
Yeah, I think so for those of you who don't know, I'm an astronomer. I've worked as a research scientist for the past like 4 years, doing my PhD, and so I've been like embedded in the university like academic environment for all that time, and I found that academia in the UK and as far as I know, it's the same in most like Western countries. Very often the attitude is like don't ask, don't tell. Like, we're scientists, no sexuality, please. And I feel like, and many people agree in the LGBT people I've spoken to, that's it's a really bad environment to be in, because if you can't be who you are, if you're not expressing your identity as like, this is the person that I am, and you're engaging in mental energy to not be quote unquote too gay, which is not something I do.
I must suppress my gayness.
Yeah. You, because like fear that you won't get the respect from your colleagues and stuff like that, that your work ethic goes down like 100%. I know people who are closeted.
Yeah, you get demoralized, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
It's the same thing with like depression in students and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. So I think it's, for employers, it's really important to like establish, again, by like setting examples and like writing into like employee codes of conduct and stuff, that harassing people because they're trans is not okay. Sorry, the dog is shaking. I think he wants to go out. Are you actually going to leave my room? Okay, good. He's left. He'll be back in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this idea that using things like codes of conduct and actually enforcing codes of conduct is really important. I know places who have it written in their employee like contracts that harassing people because of LGBT issues is against the rules and will fire you for it, and then they just don't, and they don't enforce it. They don't have a like, you got to have a complaint system that enforces the code of conduct.
Yeah, it's interesting how often those codes of conduct exist and are written but are not enforced. Like, it's crazy to me with that stuff. And I just speak from like the experience of like organizations I've been part of and blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, hooray, good. You have a piece of paper that says don't do it, but you don't actually do anything when something happens.
Yeah, and I feel like really important stuff from like a work point of view is making it easy. Like, if you're an employer, make it easy for people to like change their name in your employee database. Like, that's important anyway, because a lot of the women that are working for you are going to get married and might change their name. Make that an easy, simple process and apply it to people's first names as well. Have ways that you can Um, I've lost my thought now.
Oh no. So change your name in the database. Have ways that you can
establish like pronouns and stuff. So when I go to a conference, so I'm going to this huge conference next month called the European Week of Astronomy and Space Science. It's going to be like 5,000 people descending on Liverpool talking about space. And I pushed with people in the Royal Astronomical Society who helped organise it to allow a space on people's conference badges to write their pronouns in. Because this is something that hasn't happened before in like these really big conferences, that you have your name on there, you have the university or the organization you work for. Why not? This is a huge badge. There's plenty of space on it. Like, just have a write-in for your pronouns. Is great. That kind of stuff is and it opens again. It's the thing we were talking about, but the opening the attitude and the idea that talking about pronouns is a perfectly normal thing to do because it should be.
Yeah, that it like exists and that you don't have to be like it's not a behind closed doors conversation. You know, it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. Like like normalizing all that kind of thing is what you want to do, basically.
Yeah.
Like the more it is a normal thing to do, the more people will fall in line with doing it, because you know people are nothing if not trend followers.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Here's another one. What about like allyship in the public eye? Okay, this is something that's maybe a little more like Twitch streamer related, or like YouTuber related, or you know, content creator, actor, like that kind of stuff.
Yep.
When you see your you know, your favorite person or what have you, who happens to be trans or LGBT or whatever, being attacked for that online, what's your move? Like, what's your good ally move?
I'm the kind of person who is just 100% call the people the fuck out. Like, I'm just like, no, that is not okay. Don't do that. Get in the sea.
In the sea?
Yeah, get in the sea.
Just swim out that direction.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this is one of those things where it's important to you've got to wear your allyship as like a badge that is visible, right? You need to be able to stand up and be counted. And so if you see people that are harassing others, and this goes if you are a streamer or a public personality and you see people in your community doing that, like, that's your responsibility. Like you are 100% responsible for the behaviors of the people in your community when they're in your space.
I happen to agree with you. Yeah, like if you're a community coordinator in any way and your community is acting up, it's your job. It's your job to, you know, like, you can do things about it. So why wouldn't you? But I think the thing for me is like, when you are leaping to the defense of your you know, streamer or internet personality or what have you, like your trans role model, or whatever, however you consider them, like, consider how they would diffuse that situation or what they would do, because defending someone, I've seen this happen. Okay, I've seen this. This is a literal example. Defending someone who is trans by being racist to the person who is attacking them, like, that's not going to be helpful. You know, like, think about what the person you're defending would do and maybe do that. you know. It's a thing I've seen happen. It's like, don't trade your discrimination for other discrimination. It's
yeah,
like,
no, that's bad. Don't do that. That yeah.
I'm laughing
Yeah, I
because it's
agree.
absurd, but you know.
Yeah, I would say probably don't follow my advice on this, because I'm the kind of person who would literally fight. I will fight people with a sword. Just give me a sword, I will fight them.
Oh, I'm not saying that's the wrong.
Yeah.
That's the wrong approach. I'm just saying,
yeah.
like, within your community, you know, like,
Yeah.
fighting them with a sword is the way to go. But there may be other options, like, depending on where you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. What else? What else? You got anything else, Ash? Any other burning desires?
Yeah, can we talk a bit about like event organizing and stuff like that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Like, obviously, because we are in the community that we're in, we're always embedded in people who are like, I'm looking for people to be on a new role-playing show that is not even finished being worked out yet, and I'm trying to think about who can I have on that show, because last time I did a big like campaign, it was me and 4 cis straight white dudes, and looking back, I really regret doing the cast that way, even though these were all people who are my friends.
You want like diversity.
Yeah, you want to be able to like find people who are queer, or who are this applies to people who are like people of color and women and all sorts, like every minority. Find people from minority groups and use your position as someone who has privilege to be like, I'm gonna take your voice and I'm gonna put you on my platform. That kind of thing.
Yeah, I think there is definitely a certain amount of like visibility is important, right? Like when you're organizing an event, or you're organizing you know, a talk, or a role-playing show, or whatever, it doesn't hurt you to have diverse people in your cast of presenters and characters and what have you. Like, this is only a good thing for you. I promise. You know. I just, yeah. You know, it seems obvious to me. My favorite comparison with this stuff is like when you look at movies, right? And you look at sort of like the way that 20 years ago movies were cast, and like the way that today things are kind of working a little better. Not quite, but almost getting there, you know, sort of thing. My particular frame of reference for this is like Star Wars series stuff. You know, you look at original 1977 Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's all white guys. every single person.
Yeah.
Except for the one woman.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and then you look at today's, you know, sort of Star Wars stuff, and it's so much better.
So
it's so
good.
much diverse. Even when it's just like, oh look, that Imperial military officer is a woman. Great. You know, like,
yeah,
good. That kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, it's great.
I don't know. Yeah. Just yeah. Diversity is good. When you are looking to fill out a scenario that you're organizing.
And I guess the important thing here is that yeah, diversity is great, but it's not like something you have to like force and be like, I have to do diversity because it's socially required of me. Like, it's benefits. Like, every single piece of media I have ever seen that has a diverse cast is better for it, because more diverse people gives you more voices, it gives you more points of view. People can bring in their experiences as a person who hasn't lived exactly the same type of life you have, and it allows you to talk about stuff in interesting ways. People who have different points of view from you. It's great. Diversity is brilliant, and it makes things better.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So, what do you think? Are we in for questions?
Yeah, I think we can go to audience questions.
We're gonna farm it out to chat. Chat, please regale us with questions that you wish for us to answer. Hopefully in relation to allyship, but in general, if it's a good question, we'll probably just answer it anyway. Please do not be shy. Furnish us with things to talk about quickly. I can only monologue so long. I know the stream has a slight delay, which is why I'm doing this.
Damn Twitch and their delays. Come on, fix the servers. I probably shouldn't say that because they'll just like be shouldn't have said that, Ashley. I'm putting you on a 20-second delay now.
A 30-second delay for you, Ash.
Yeah.
Crap, so much pressure. Now, don't feel pressured, just Hearthome. It's cool. You just, it's cool. I feel like allies are needed on a personal level. Like, should I be actively looking for other allies? Or should I be actively looking for allies? Or are they only important on a societal level? I think, personally, in answer to that question, just Rachel, that depends on you, right? Like, support system wise, like, personally, do you feel like you would benefit from having people around you that consider themselves allies? I think that's important. But that, like, generally when you're talking about being like a trans ally or like, LGBTQ ally, that you're talking about like on a societal level. Certainly you're talking about like on the level of like more than just you and your friend Sarah, basically. What else we got?
Brian has asked, can you speak on the idea of welcoming allies into spaces versus keeping spaces safe? I think you can have situations where either of those is good. I think there is certainly times when it is appropriate to say this is a space that is just for trans people, and it's just for trans people to talk about their issues and to support each other. But then there are other times when it's going to be, this is a place for LGBT people and people who support LGBT people to talk about stuff.
I think the thing to realize, right, like when you're thinking about that in term and like where that might apply and so forth, is remember that when you are an ally, you're an awesome, cool, supportive, badass person who throws their privilege behind people who need it. You know what I mean? Or what have you. But that you aren't. It doesn't give you like carte blanche, like the trans pass to get into all the like trans convention rooms. You know what I mean? Or whatever metaphorical convention that we're at. Like you're still you're an ally and you're a great person and thank you. And like. We love you, sort of thing, but you that doesn't make you like honorary trans. You know what I mean? And I think that's an important realization with some people that they don't get, right? And there are definitely some spaces that I think should remain like, this is a place for trans people to talk about their issues and their experiences and so forth. That don't need allies because that space is safe. We don't need protection there, sort of thing. I think that's the best way I can address that. Like, allyship does not grant you honorary transness. What else we got? Tokriva says, after having come out at work a while ago, since last week, I've asked them to start using my new /chosen name. What do you feel is a good span to allow my coworkers to stop using my old name and mistake?
I mean, I think it's just like, now you have said, like, this is my name, please use it. If they get it wrong, then it is entirely within your right to correct them. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And over time, you're gonna recognize the people who are making an effort and the people who are being a dick.
Yeah, I think in like that particular vein, once you've said it and you've announced it and it's a thing, just keep correcting people. People who start getting it right, they're the people that, you know, are putting the effort in.
Yeah.
People who don't.
And it's one of those things, like get your boss on side on that. Like get like your line manager on side, and they're the one you've got to get doing it done the fastest, because then they're gonna have the ability to, if people end up being shitty, move like disciplinary action. Is like, get your bosses on side, because you want to be able to put complaints against people if you need to.
Yeah. You got something?
So Sifmaster has asked, how would you recommend or like to see from allies at conferences, networking environments? Anything more specific than general advice? So I think at conferences is the perfect time to be boosting people's voices. So when you're in conferences and on panels and that kind of thing, it's the perfect time to, if you see minority people being like interrupted in conversations and stuff like that, that's the time thing you can be like, oh, hang on a second, Ashley was saying this. Because that's one thing that happens a lot, especially at scientific conferences, is some, like, a woman or a queer person or a person of color will be trying to make a comment, and then some old white dude will sweep in and be like, well, actually, and that's when you need to be this type of person. You be, it's like, well, hang on a second, stop. You can't just interrupt people.
Like, let's have a discussion, not actually just like talk over people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's a very different kind of power dynamic thing. You know? Assertiveness and loudness and speaking over people are things that come with privilege. Yeah, like, yeah. What we got?
So Mole Apocalypse has asked, how do you deal with friends who are allies, support your decisions, but then constantly get your pronouns wrong?
They're not allies if they're not getting your pronouns right.
Yes.
Ally is a term that means, like, you know, more than just like your friends who, you know, hang out with you. If they're getting your pronouns wrong, then they're not putting in the minimum amount of effort that's needed for them to be called quote-unquote allies.
And
supposed to defend you and protect you and come to your aid. Getting your pronouns wrong is not those things.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that, you know, it's hard in that you have to kind of bear your emotions a little bit, and it's difficult. You have to say to people like what you're doing is hurting me, and it's a hard thing to say to someone, but when people are like persistently misgendering you, and saying, oh no, I support your decisions, then you need to be able to say, stop, what you're doing is like hurting, and I need you to do better or cut them out.
I mean, my continual advice with anything pronoun related is every time they get it wrong, correct them. Don't make a big deal out of it, but every time they get it wrong, correct them, because you basically get to say to them, you're making a mistake every time they make a mistake. You know what I mean? and you call people out like that enough, and they will either like get it right or they will leave.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and either way, you win. So I think that's my thing. Like, Mole, if you're getting misgendered, correct them. Always correct them. 100% of the time, they get it wrong, correct them. Make sure they know you're correcting them. Make sure they acknowledge that they got it wrong, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Don't make a big deal out of it. Don't let them fall on their swords for you, but just correct them and keep going. Yeah. I mean, the full tilt punt comes a little later, but
yeah,
you know, hopefully you can correct bad behavior.
Yeah. So Ulysses is pointing out, like, I do this as well. Not so much since I came out, because I don't have the like social contract to be able to do it anymore. But I used to interrupt people all the time. I was terrible for it. And it's one thing I really notice and is really hard for me when I'm playing RPGs with people, is trying to like get in and be like, I want to do a thing, but everyone's talking.
Oh, so much talking. Yeah.
Or you're trying to do the thing. You're saying, I do the thing, and then someone else interjects. And that's something that I think everyone
deals with.
If you know you do it, like, you've got to like retrain your brain and be like, I interrupted. I'm just a loud, obnoxious person, like a million. I mean, I wasn't gonna say anything.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate you not attacking me personally.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I am. I was even worse, if you can imagine. I was even worse when I was, you know, back before I transitioned, had like the social conscience on it all. But, yeah, I'm an interrupter too. It's true. Social interaction is a skill. You're right, Vince Cyclone. Yeah, you have to train it and learn.
Exactly.
I actually had this conversation with my roommate recently, because my roommate was saying, like, I'm not a bad person. I just express myself in a bad way, and I'm like, you have to keep practicing.
Exactly.
Keep practicing. Eventually, you can express yourself in a way that fully articulates what you're thinking and what you're feeling. But you can't do that if you never try to do those things, because just like in Oblivion, you have to use the skill to get levels in it, right? Like, you can't just like expect to get skill books and become better, right? Like, and suddenly be eloquent, right? You have to practice.
Though, to be honest, in Oblivion, you can just make a spell that deals 1 fire damage and heals one damage, and then you just cast it on yourself.
It's not a good analogy. There's lots of other games I could have said. It's just the first one that came to my head. Okay, Ash, God.
It was a good analogy. God. Right, anyway.
This isn't a personal insult, just a gestalt insult. Thanks, chat. I'm glad that you guys liked my Oblivion reference, even if Ash didn't.
I liked it. I was just being a dick about it.
All right. What else? Yeah, Burning Wheel. You got to roll those difficult tests to advance. Yeah, I mean,
exactly. There you go.
Okay. Any other questions from chat? We miss anything?
Yeah, if we missed anything, feel free to repost them, and we'll see if we can answer.
Yeah, never let anybody, Krobosword, never let anybody get away with misgendering you. Even if it's just them saying the wrong thing and you just being like she, or like or whatever. Just a little quiet, just, you know, like, you made a mistake thing. That's what I do.
Yeah.
It's really fun when people misgender me at LARP, because my LARP characters are way more angry. So I get to actually, like, there's a little bit of vindication in that. I get to be like, what? Death. Yeah. It's pretty great.
Okay, so the off-topic question, but we can answer it.
Yeah.
July, like, how do you find your voice?
All right.
We kind of spoke about this, like, way back in, like, the first or second episode, like voice stuff.
You want to do a quick one anyway?
Yeah, I don't do shit.
Okay, well, I do though.
Yeah, you go ahead.
You want me to do this one? Okay, I'll field this one. So here's how it works. Okay, so the way I always imagine it, my friends, is in your neck. If you are thinking about voice things, when you are speaking with your like male voice, quote unquote, because I don't think voices are gendered, but what are you gonna do? You can feel that your like voice box is sort of like low and back in your throat, right? So like let me try and get there, because this is my voice now. I talk like this and it's trained to be like this. But I can get back there. So it sounds kind of like this, right? And there's like a resonance in your chest. You can feel like a little buzz in your sort of like collarbone, like top of your rib cage kind of area. And you don't want that, because it's the resonance that makes it like masculine coded, right? So what you do is you take your voice box from back and down, and you like try and metaphorically in your mind take it and push it up and forward, so it's sitting like right here, you know. And so so you kind of try and take all the sound of your voice out of your chest and put it into your neck, you know. And like remove that resonance. It's not about doing this, you know what I mean? Like, you don't have to change your tone, you don't have to get all Mickey Mouse bullshit. But you do have to just get the resonance out, right? It's not about the treble, it's about the bass, you know. Just remove the bass. The best way to do it, up and forward instead of down and back. That's my best advice. Anyone can do it. Anyone.
That's good advice. And so something we were talking about in my Discord today is the idea of like, I agree that I don't think there are like really male voices and female voices, but there's this generally accepted thing of the what the frequency range is. People gender different ways, like over the phone or something, without like visual cues. And the general guidance in the trans community is to aim for something above like 180, 190 hertz. There are a bunch of apps you can get that you can record your voice and it will tell you what frequency range you're speaking in. And that can help you in raising your voice, and after that it's just practice.
I also think there's a certain amount of like how you're talking, because men and women talk differently, like socially.
Yes, yeah.
There is definitely a lot more sort of like up and down melodicness to like women's voices. And listen to your like friends, your like girlfriends speak, right? Just listen and you'll see the way they say things is different to the way that like you do. If I'm talking like metaphorically, like cis male person or, you know, trans person. Those things are very different. The way that the flow of the conversation and the way that things are pronounced and so on.
So I think the last thing I want to try and tackle Dave's question.
All right, what do we got?
Because I think it's interesting. And so Dave is asking basically, do we think it's possible that young kids who are confused and unhappy might try and direct their discomfort at maybe the wrong idea that they're trans? I'm just gonna categorically say no.
I 100% agree with you. It's like categorically not a thing.
Like, the thing about being trans is being trans generally sucks.
Yeah, a little bit. You're not really helping yourself out choosing to direct your angst towards I might be trans. You know what I mean? It's not like it's not trendy. It's not fun. It's not cool. People may think that from the outside, but let me tell you, it ain't. The other thing that I always say is like, happy, healthy, comfortable people who are within their bodies comfortable, they don't experience dysphoria, you know, they are cis and comfortably cis, don't even think about the things that trans people think about, you know what I mean? Like, if you're thinking that you're uncomfortable, you know, in your body in a way that is like gendered, you know, you might be trans, you know, like you might have some tendency towards like that. The people who aren't bodily uncomfortable or like socially uncomfortable in that exact way, just like never think about that. You know, I sort of had this revelation when I was talking to some friends who are cis and whatever, and I'm like, have you ever thought about like this thing? And they're like, no, not really. I mean, weird school assignments maybe, but other than that, no, never. Like, I am comfortable in who I am.
There is one of, so I've recently started following r/trans on Reddit, which is hilarious. Like, I love me some good trans memes. And one of the things is right that one of the like ongoing memes is people who are like, I don't know why I keep coming back to this subreddit. I don't understand why I find it all so interesting. Oh,
I'm trans. Just like, exactly.
And it's not like one of those things, like, you don't have to be like, oh, I'm trans, I have to like transition and do all this stuff. So what we were talking about with Andrew, right, is non-binary people exist, and you can experiment with your gender expression.
There's so much space.
You can be whatever gender you want, whenever you want. And that's it. Like, you can be whoever you want. And it's your decision to make.
So like to bring it back around to Dave's like question specifically, I don't think that anyone who is like, you know, angry or upset or confused is necessarily going to direct it in the wrong direction towards transness. Like, I can't conceive of a way that would happen. And if it does happen that way, then they might have problems related to them being trans, you know, which is totally legitimate. But I don't know. I don't see it.
And it's one of those things that comes up a lot in typically right-wing media and shit like that, and it's myths that are purported to destabilize the agenda, exactly, pretty much.
Listen, okay, you can't stop the trans agenda.
Exactly.
Right? It's not possible. It's a secret underground organization run by trans people. We're the best at remaining secret and underground, okay?
Okay. I think we're good. I'm gonna say Sigurd Norton is asking about sperm banking. I'm pretty sure we spoke about it in episode 2.
We did,
Navigating Healthcare, which is available on YouTube and as an audio podcast on SoundCloud.
How very fancy indeed. So we call that an end to our 7th episode.
Yes, I think so.
All right, Ash. Tell us about yourself so that we can find you in internet places.
Hi everyone, I'm Ashley. This is my internet place. You're already here. Unless you're like watching through a host, in which case you should click that go to channel button and then click the follow button and maybe also the subscribe button. And you can find me on Twitter at Ashley_Nova_Elf.
Hi, nerds. You can find me on Twitter at DistractedElf or on Twitch at www.twitch.tv/DistractedElf. I also have a button you can click that, you know, follows me or whatever. Also, I'm like really close to 4,000 Twitter followers. If, you know, you just want to like follow me on Twitter, even if I just want the shiny number, you know, like 4,000. Just saying. Anyway, that will be it for us this fine day. Have yourselves a wonderful evening or afternoon or whatever time it is for you in your crazy parts of the world.
Yes.
And we'll see you next time.
Yeah. Bye, everyone.